What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Yet another episode of Point Forward Podcast. Myself, Andre Iguodala, and my guy, Evan Turner. Support for Point Forward comes from Nissan. What does adventure mean to you? A far-out trip to somewhere brand new? Or maybe it's as simple as taking a different route home from work. However you define adventure, the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder is ready for it. Pathfinder is designed to conquer every road, every terrain, every adventure, so you can spend less time worrying about your car and more time worrying about where to explore next. Adventure better with the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Excitement is back in the NBA world after 5 days off. Well, we only had 5 days. The way folks were dissecting it or over dissecting it, whatever, beating a dead horse, whatever you want to call it, as if we were having 9 months off or something like that. Like, It's only been 5 days. Like, are we in that world where we can't do without something for a few seconds? It's almost like, we live in the age of instant gratification, and we can't have breaks from things. So it's got to be constant conversation or it loses steam. It's funny how, we were in that world now.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what happens when the rules get looser and standards get looser. You know what I mean? All type of fuckery just starts occurring. I believe the paler complexion loves to use this when the prisoners are running the jail. How many times have you heard that? So
the prisoners running the asylum, yes.
Yeah, the asylum. And it's like, the niggas got a voice.
Jerry Sloan. When Jerry Sloan got fired, that's when all hell broke loose in the basketball world. And it was like we haven't brought the reins in that saying. We gotta rein them in.
That's real. That's so real.
But I'm excited about it. As you've spoken about it, you predicted it. I did see Shaq predicted that the Mavericks would win a championship. So he's going 3 for 3. He predicted the Rookie of the Year. He predicted the MVP. And then he said Dallas was going to win. And then, you speaking on, JT got to face Luka for the finals. And so I think there's a lot of excitement about it. I think we have had a lot of excitement over the last 5 days, too, with the TV deal, with, most of it being rumors. But, rumors nowadays are close to being spot on when we're talking about contracts and deals getting done. And by 2030, you're going to have an NBA player making, $95 million per year.
Bro.
And how are you going to be responding to guys making $95 million a year? Are you going to be one of those old heads, saying that it's crazy and they make too much money and, they could be giving it, we paved the way for those guys? Like, what type of guy are you? Do you not want to be like, what's your thoughts on it?
No, to be honest with you, I compare it to when I used to think when Brown was playing for Miami. Mm-hmm. I think he's arguably the most popular athlete in the world, and he was making $14 million on court.
Facts.
And then you had dudes like Cristiano Ronaldo, shout out them, and Lionel Messi, who were also dominant in their sport and everything, and they were making more in a weekend than that. And I'm sitting here like, I understand y'all say soccer the most impressive sport, but people even know me. So imagine they think about Brian and Michael Jordan's still one of the biggest athletes ever. So we're sitting here, I'm like, bro, the fact that dudes are making $14 million or this, that, and a third, and I was just comparing it to the soccer players. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this sport is popular enough for us to get to that level and for dudes to get popping. So I think the NBA got, in my personal opinion, in the top 5% of the most recognizable faces on earth. And I feel like that, I'll take a page from WNBA book. That should match up with the salary and all this and the third. But I think also too,
that's a bar. You can press play on this one, Sam. Don't cut this up. E.T., you say things sometimes, and I think people they hear, but they don't digest it. And this isn't a knock on anybody, but say that again. It speaks volumes.
I'm saying that we would have to take a page out of WNBA book by saying all right, we would have, because they know us and because the soccer players are so great, we believe that we can be on that level because we're just as popular. And
Man.
that's basically what we're following up doing. That's what the WNBA is doing with the NBA. And when you're sitting still, I'm sounding like it with the soccer players. Like, shoot, you can't tell me we're not on that level. So if there's respect to the soccer players, I'm gonna sound like Skylar Diggins. Like, such and such is making $90 million and not even an all-star. You know what I mean? And shout out to them and shit. But I just think the sport has been too popular, G. The sport's too popular. And you can't tell me it's like we're at the level now, you're arguing that the best players in the world are European.
Yeah.
Like, that's how much the sport has grown from the time of the dominance of, like, the Dream Team and so on and so forth, or even just 10 years ago.
No,
like,
you spit.
Yeah, like the new LeBron is from Slovenia, which is crazy.
No, exactly that part right there to get how the game is growing internationally. I think the league and the players have done an incredible job of just kind of buying into the goal of it all, which is continue to grow the pot, which is making the game more international. You have the Paris games, that we do as a game every year during the season. And then internationally with the Olympics and how the NBA players were involved there, and then the expansion over to Asia. So a team goes to China every year for preseason. Teams going to Dubai now. Now you got the BAL. You also got talks of the NBA getting involved in the Euro leagues and having a stake there. It's only a matter of time before, because NBA players don't participate in the upside or profits of the NBA shield internationally. But you see players with their shoe deals, and you see players, shout out to Mateo. My guy Mateo's already at the PA,
Shout out Mateo. Shout out to Mateo. Yes.
Sanctuary, One Court Milan, just going international. Jaime from Miami, and he's going to be a recognizable household name in the NBA for the next decade or so plus. And what he's doing in Mexico and how he's going to help build there. It's just the game continues to grow. Australia has a great presence. So it's just becoming a global brand, and it's only going to continue to keep turning it up, as you like to say. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And also, too, it's simple. It's just continuing to gain the value of what your presence is. Even when you do certain deals of, so you've done certain business deals, and sometimes they don't go through unless you show up. And you might look at somebody that a big time guy with a name, he might just be like, yo, I'm leveraging my presence. But like my presence and influence is everything. It's not just something for the moment. It's something that's bargainable and ownership, much more than like an appearance. And I think now this stuff is starting to put people even more in boss positions,
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's leveling up in all aspects of the game, which takes me to my next topic of, we woke up this past Thursday morning, and the Lakers are always a hot franchise to, have conversation around. And now we're hearing who we got, Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley is the lead candidate, because it's always been a lead candidate by the week. We had Kenny Atkinson and JJ Redick just had it in the bag just 4 or 5 days ago. JJ had it in the bag.
Which is crazy.
Right.
Kenny Atkinson pump faking ass got the nerves to fill out for a job. I'm like, nah, G.
For anyone who is not as familiar with Kenny Atkinson and his Paul Pierce-like pump fake, who got the best pump fake of all time? We should do one of them. I know Paul Pierce is up there.
Lou Williams up there for sure.
Lou Williams going left. His pump fake was incredible. But Paul Pierce's pump fake he barely got off the ground. Andre Miller had an incredible pump fake.
Yeah, who else had a good pump fake?
You know who had a good pump fake? I got a name for you.
Who?
I'll give you a hint. He went to Pitt.
Oh, Sam Young. That's who I was going to say, too. Sam Young. I was about to say. We were thinking the same. I'm like, there's somebody I wasn't supposed to be jumping on that used to get me. I used to get subbed out every game. Coach like, watch out for this. Okay.
When you got a non-shooter that could get you off the ground on a pump fake, that's one of the greatest pump fakes of all time.
Right. It was crazy. Bro, all for him to get to his 15 feet and cash it out.
You know who did? You know, had a great pump fake, and I was I don't want to say this because it's not worth it. No, I'm not going to say his name.
Who
But
you
there was
talking
a
about,
guy,
Chandler?
Chandler
I was
Parsons.
about to say the same thing. I didn't want to say his name neither. G, your brain, like Chandler would be like, and I was an elite pick and roll player. I'm like, come on, my nigga, you averaging 3 assists do not mean you was an elite pick and roll player. Like, let's stop, G.
His pump fake was incredible. So back to the story of Kenny Atkinson and the pump fake. He was actually hired by the Charlotte Hornets 2 years ago, and when you play spades and you cut with a spade and you got the suit of like a heart, and you come back, we find out you got a heart. That's called reneging, meaning that you false claiming, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah, a renegger. A renegger. Bro, that's down the word, man. That's worse than the B word, G. Like, think of like getting called.
Who came up with that word?
I don't know, G, but it's aggressive. When nigga like, nigga, you like, what?
You reneged.
Yeah, you like, oh, okay. So, all right.
Those are fighting words in our community. So, Kenny bagged out of a coaching gig he was hired for. Supposedly, he wasn't able to bring in any assistant coaches, and normally when you get hired, you can bring in assistants. And from what I heard, this is through the grapevine. This is me being on my Woj, or who's the other dude's name? I forgot his name again. Shams. Your Woj or Sams. Yes, platforms. My sources said Charlotte didn't want to get rid of the assistant coaches. They had another year in their deal to pay them, and so it's like, no, you're gonna work off this last year. Like you gonna work for this money.
Yeah, so then, dude, like y'all trying to win, or y'all just trying to make business make sense? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what you mean? So I'm not gonna. So I'm gonna have a 3-year deal that I can't lock in until year two. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what?
Exactly. So that's why he backed out of the deal, and so that's ET's basis on him being a pump faker.
Point forward.
They talking about the Shams and Woj. They beefing like Kendrick and Drake, apparently, man.
So that's a perfect as we transition into the Lakers head coaching gig, and this is what we were diving into. Woj broke the story that Dan Hurley emerged as the Lakers head coach candidate, and with a massive deal. I don't know the numbers of the deal, and then Shams is reporting out that it's still JJ is the strongest candidate. So there is there's the war between Woj and Shams that is considered Drake and Kendrick, and so the internet beef continues, and it's going to be this is interesting because you got two folks who are kind of position themselves as the go-to source for NBA news, but at the same time, it's a big coaching hire. So all eyes are always on LA.
Yeah, but we can't also forget this, because I'm not going to give them that much fire. The Drake and Kendrick's battle's dope because it's based off their own talent. Them two chatty patty dudes is making a lot of money being nosy, gossiping, and violating relationships for the sake of using 140 characters first. Hey, man. Hey, get your money, G, but when you get the stripping next, I ain't shocked, all right? You know what I mean? They OnlyFansing. They basically OnlyFansing. That's what they doing. Showing their little secrets.
That little nosy thing is one of the funniest things I've heard today. You know why?
Why?
The child that was named after you is upset at the world because she can only watch her iPad for an hour or two a day. So now that school's out, it's like you got extra time. It's like you got to figure out what you're going to do, but you can't be on your iPad. So I go in and she's getting her hair done. I'm like, yo, are you mad? Your iPad time is over? And she just looked at me with that scowl. I'm like, why you mad at me? We all got to abide by these rules. I said, why you mad at me? She said to me, I just feel like you're doing that thing that you say other people always do. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I just came to say hi. She was like, that thing you always say that other people do. I feel like you're doing that. I said, what is that thing? That thing you say people being nosy. Fam, I almost hit the ground. So I'm like, oh, you want me to get out your business with your iPad, huh? I said, damn.
That thing that she always doing.
She said,
being nosy.
Fam, you being nosy. Don't worry about my iPad. I can't be on it. and you making it worse. I said, I cannot believe she said this. I said, hey fam, enjoy yourself, but be careful with your words because I do tap behind.
That's crazy. I feel it, bro. She's like, only 2 hours? How about 16 hours? What you mean? Do what? God, what you mean? Do what?
All right, going back to this Lakers thing. I'm actually surprised on this Dan Hurley thing, to be honest, because I feel like he has such a great presence with young talent and how he's in the world of amateurism or whatever you want to call collegiate sports. I feel like he's actually bringing something that we've been lacking for the last decade or so, especially with this new NIL world. Like, I'm actually kind of shocked, but I think he's an incredible coach. So I don't know how to feel, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, like you said, I think you said something that was impressive. Dan Hurley's really great with young talent. Like, even how he's able in this day and age to be able to build like a core of like winning tradition, like it's pretty impressive, especially like in this NIL culture and everything like that. I'm not too sure how it translates to the NBA because you're going from dealing with kids and people that's halfway to their goals to going to go deal with men who are men. Like you don't. I mean, you're working with men. Even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said, "You manage farm animals. You work with humans." So you sitting still and you like, "Hey, bro, that cursing or you gonna do this and a third." You've seen teams quit on coaches 3 months in or not run sprints or be like, "Yo, we not showing up to practice today." Rick Pitino's the smoothest college coach of all time.
Ooh.
And they ran him smooth up out of there.
Navarro ran them up out of there.
That's what I'm saying. You look at Urban Meyer, what happened with the Jaguars. He was arguably one of the best football coaches of all time too. And it's like, how do can you relate to people? Not like if you holding people's feet to the fire. You look at a lot of these people, it's like, bro, you probably can't coach if you didn't have the gavel.
True.
You know what I mean?
That's the bar.
Yeah.
You probably couldn't coach if you didn't have a gavel. We got to start putting some of this on a T-shirt.
But I mean, I'm looking for the Hurley family can really coach. Obviously, if you look at the Hoops documentary from back in the day, I think it was Miracle at St. Anthony's.
I gotta watch that.
It was pretty cool. The older Dan Hurley, he kind of reminded me of my high school coach, Gene Pingatore. Then clearly, the basketball pedigree and blood is, unbelievable. But I like Dan Hurley overall as a dude. He seems like a pretty cool, fun dude.
Yeah.
The energy's legit. With this LA thing, nothing's ever good enough. That's for sure. And man, Dan got to be sure that he want to do that too. Like, you know what I mean? And not be the fall guy for some bullshit. Like, anytime you coach LeBron, you at risk for arguably the greatest player of all time not liking you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, I used to be a basketball coach. It's like, what's your story? Like, well, LeBron got on fire. And like, that trumps everything,
Yeah. That's facts. It's going to be interesting to see, though. So I'm sure the world will be watching that.
Point forward.
There was an interesting clip of a Chicago great, Jabari Parker, and folks not having a good understanding of the interaction or what came from it. A reporter was asking him, how has your time been overseas? It's your first full year. He's at Barcelona FC Basketball Club. Is it Barcelona? Is it FC or BC? What is Barcelona?
I think it's BC.
Barcelona, BC.
Baloncesto Club.
Yeah. And he was asking him how was his first year adjusting, full year playing overseas. And he kind of teared up a little bit, couldn't really get it out. He was trying to control his emotionals. And it was a sight to see if you didn't have a good understanding. And I was really happy to see that the next day he responded by saying it was like, he's so much gratitude and appreciation for playing overseas. And because I'm thinking the same thing. Barcelona's an amazing city. They do it the right way with certain clubs. They have a brand name to them. It's like Pepsi, as our guy likes to say from American Gangster. What's our guy's name?
Frank Lucas.
And Barcelona's a household name, a brand name, and they do things the right way. And Spain's a beautiful country. And he was saying how
Barcelona's unreal.
Yeah, how he appreciates where he's at, and it's just been a joyous time for him. And it was almost tears of joy. So I was really excited to see that. We've been having too many traumatic, sad stories coming from our players who are no longer in the league as of late. And so it was really good to hear.
Yeah, I love it too, man. Sometimes being able to do what you love can really set you apart. Being in the NBA is one thing to hoop, but if you like the 10th, 11th man, sometimes you feel like you're not even in a league.
Right. So you spoke on that before.
Yeah, and then when you sit there, it's like, no, this is a good job. It's like, bro, you literally are just pretty much part of the setup crew. Like, coaches had audacity, like, well, we just need the 12th body. You're not ever playing. Like, it's off when you just feel like you have no purpose of, like, all the hard work you put in. It's just like, nah, it's just not prepared for you to play. We're just paying you to be here, call it a day. You know? So I think sometimes when you, especially with basketball, when you're very passionate about it, you know, it's a release and therapy. And when you're not always able to do it or compete at that high level, you know, you lose a little bit. Like, correct. Don't get it twisted. The guys that play in the NBA, they love money. They're athletic. They're talented. But I get hype off competition. Like, when people are like, do you miss it? I'm like, bro, I just miss competing. G, like, don't nothing make me feel better than kicking a little ass. And like, getting a pep in my step and being like, all right, bro, I see what's going on and feel like I'm being poured into. And as you can see with Jabari, with anybody, when you're able to be poured into and, you know, have what you're working with or your potential somewhat like focus on, shit, that shit is beautiful. So I'm super hyped for Jabari.
So I got a question for you. Because here's a scenario. Historically, every team had, you know, you have your number one guy, your number two guy, you know, you got your defensive guy, you know, you got your shooter, you know, everyone filled their box of like their skill set. You know, everyone was expert at their skill set, could do everything else. It's okay. But now we're in a world where everyone is trying to be that guy. And I'm talking about how we're raising our youth talent, like how we're developing our talent. Everyone has to have a high usage rate. I'm seeing it in AAU where it's like you got to have the ball a lot to show a coach that you can handle the ball. You can do everything with the ball. Like, you can't be a guy that makes the right plays and the right decisions because you're not aggressive. Like, I'm seeing all these things. And so when you get to the league, what should your 12th, 13th, 14th man look like? Is it development guys, you know? And then the real question, which is how we got here, when is the right scenario for a guy to spend his peak years overseas over the NBA? You know, because you like ultimately you want to test yourself against the best. But, you know, we speak about Mike James a lot. You know, but then we also talked about Kendrick Nunn and what he's been able to do this year. And so, like, when is it the right scenario?
I think once you become a vet, so a vet is usually 4 or 5 years. So I believe once you become a vet, you kind of got this ideas of what it is. You're somewhat nearing your scientific prime, which is somewhat 27. Mm-hmm. And when you're sitting there, I mean, around that time, if you're a 10th, 11th man and you're adding up numbers just by text, or say if you're missing out on 300,000, but your happiness is to be playing, you're going to a dope city. Like, shoot, if I was Mike James, I don't blame Mike James going overseas and living in Monaco. Mm-hmm. And going to go be the man and playing in Europe. Like, you look at Nikola Mirotic, he went to Barcelona. Like, when you sit there and like, wait, they got paid $3 million to play here and live and like kick in, they play, and like this league, this is where they're from, this league is lit. I think that correlates it. My old head, Scooney Penn, he was like one of the best point guards back in college, back in like the 90s, early thousands. He actually did that. He was like, man, I got offered to do to go like to the Hawks as a 15th man, third guy and everything. And I'm like, well, why didn't you ever do that? He's like, it's cool to be in a league. But he's like, I want to play basketball, dog.
Yeah.
He's like, forget all that other stuff. I want to play basketball. I want to wake up and play basketball, not make some other dude hot. Like, I want to go and compete. Like, you sitting there like, yo, take it easy, dude my age, and I'm playing behind him or filling in for him on reps. Like, nah, dog, I'm too good for that. I want to play basketball. If I can't play here, I can go over there and kill and figure it out. So
for sure. It makes a lot of sense. And then shout out to Boogie Cousins. DeMarcus won Finals MVP in the Taiwan League over the past week. So, you know, good to see him, you know, having a shining glory moment with all the talent and all the greatness that he's done throughout his basketball career.
Point forward.
We are welcomed by Tasha Keeney, Director of Investment Analysis and Institutional Strategies at ARK. We see a lot of NBA players have been driving the Tesla for quite some time. So I think it became popular in the NBA when the X was first released. Then you had the gold wing doors take the NBA by storm. And most recently, the Cybertruck. And Tesla had an amazing model, which I learned Starbucks is using, where when you put your down payment down, the car might not be available for, I don't know, they've been taking those down payments for the last couple, maybe 5-6 years, maybe a decade. And then how that money compiled, you can get interest from, and Tesla takes the interest. And so Starbucks is like one of the largest banks in the world with their Starbucks rewards card. When you put money on your phone on your Starbucks card, and someone may not use their Starbucks card for, a couple months, and it's just $20, $50 sitting on there, and Starbucks is eating up all the interest. It's just another way to add revenue, which is an amazing model. So thought of that recently. But as Director of Investment Analysis and Institutional Strategies, what comes with that role?
So a lot of things, but, primarily, well, I guess like to zoom out. So I've been with ARK for roughly 10 years. And over that time period, I've always covered autonomous technology and 3D printing. So I have my, analyst roles day to day, helping with a portfolio. There's a number of stocks I cover. I recommend trades for then Kathy and the investment team to pull the trigger on. And then for the director role, I look over valuations for the firm. So all of our positions, we have a 5-year price target on. And we monitor, where the current price is relative to that price target to determine kind of how to size the position in the portfolio, along with some other qualitative metrics like, do you like the management team? Have they executed well? Things like that. So I oversee that for the investment team. I help train the associates. And then on the institutional strategy side, that is really working with other partner organizations. For instance, ARK and MSCI created indices based off of the ARK research and the ARK technologies. So I help kind of funnel our research into those processes.
Most folks don't understand a word you just said, but to tie all that together with our conversation, speaking about a lot of NBA players driving Tesla, the electric car movement, so many conversations around, is electric better than gas? When electric first came about, you're hearing that it's, it could change the world, global warming issues that we have. The ocean is a sauna basically now, but then you also have you're essentially still using electricity, and now I'm hearing about nuclear power and how disruptive, the autonomous part of Tesla is and how valuable it is. And so I really want to dive there, and I just saw Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is probably the most, he's the hottest player in the NBA in terms of brand. Like, he's the most fashionable, one of the best players. And so he just posted with his new Cybertruck. So the Cybertruck is about to be the it car in the NBA. But just talk to us a little bit about, where you see Tesla now and in the next, 10 to 20 years, and why you're so bullish on the company.
Tesla. So from an electric vehicle perspective, ARK and my colleague Sam has done a lot of great work on this. He had estimated for, the past 10 years that there'd reach a point where electric vehicles would be price competitive with gas-powered cars. And they already have been competitive for some time from a total cost of ownership perspective. That means, the cost to drive the car, and it includes the resale value if you were to resell your car. But now they're price competitive on a sticker price basis, what consumers see, like, this is the price of the car that I'm buying. So we feel like electric vehicles are the future. And that's kind of, cemented in now, just based on those economics. It's a better, cheaper technology. Mm-hmm. And then on the autonomous driving side, this is really exciting because it's still such early days. But Tesla so far has been a leader in driver assistance technology. Mm-hmm. So behind the wheel, you're still paying attention, but there's the most advanced features of really any personal car on the road helping you drive. And then we think they can layer on those software updates so that eventually Tesla vehicles become robotaxis. So what this looks like is like a fleet owner can purchase a bunch of Teslas, and it'll be an Uber-like network, but actually Tesla will be the operator. And we think that this will totally change the business model, and we're super excited about it.
So that's what I want to dive in with you more, especially with Evan. And so Evan, we always joke a bit about, the prototypical NBA player investment in the 90s, early 2000s. It was a barbershop, it was a car wash, or it was a record label. And you're speaking to this robo-taxi disruption and this new business. And the first thing that came to mind was NBA, because you never want anyone in your car as a high wealth individual. But talk to us about the possibility of an NBA player being able to go out and buy 5 Teslas. And that's a line of business for them.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you could have individuals that sign their car up for the network, as you said, but some people might not want to do that. Right. So we think the majority, yes, ma'am, of what the fleet will look like will be these fleet owners. Right. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's an interesting opportunity. So you as a fleet owner could purchase a bunch of Teslas. And what we imagine these companies doing is you maintain the car, you get a fee for that. And ultimately it's good for Tesla because, they move the assets off of their balance sheet. They get another, housing and maintaining the cars alone will be its own big business that, I expect someone else will build out.
Didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maintenance for those type of things to keep them up and running, all that, it's probably going to be a lot. You get 5 or 6.
Yeah, exactly. And you could picture, I know that they pulled back on their Tesla investment, let's say, but you could picture a company like Hertz. I mean, if robotaxis are the future and fewer people drive cars personally and actually choose to purchase cars, then you can imagine today's car rental companies, their business model is at risk. So they might want to do something like this, and they're already in the business of buying cars, maintaining them for a rental model, and maybe they'll be the robotaxi maintainers of the future. But it could be a new company as well.
But with this, this robotaxi disruption, I believe ARK said that they researched and they believe by 2030 it could be a 10 plus trillion revenue annually if it does, work the way it's supposed to, correct?
So yeah, by 2030, we're saying roughly like almost 30 trillion in enterprise value. I think 28 trillion in enterprise value. Mm-hmm. The revenue, so the total opportunity is definitely measured in the trillions. I think the net revenue, and we've kind of we adjust our model every year based on what we see in the market. Currently, net revenue is right around 4 trillion. So that's like the scrape that the operator, in this case would be Tesla, gets off of the per mile price that the consumers pay. So like the price that you see that you paid for your Uber, Tesla gets a cut of that.
Okay. Wow.
So I got a question around investment. And, Tesla stock has been quite volatile throughout different, periods of time, whether it's over 1 year, is just, because even the 52-week high, just the last year is 300, and then the 52-week low is 138. And so now it's at 177 as of Thursday, June 6th. And I'm asking all that to ask, we talked a lot about folks investing. You talk about, the Dumb Money Investors. It's a movie I just saw a couple weeks ago. Amazing movie. Everyone should go watch the movie Dumb Money. And then that means Stop is back. I forgot how he calls himself, Kitty. He's back in the market. Yes, he's back in the market with the game stock, and it's been up crazy this last week or two. But we speak a lot about folks investing, understanding their risk, and how long that they should, understand when they should invest. And it's not like a 2 or 3 week thing. You get in, you get out. But, how long should you think folks should be looking at this Tesla stock if they were to, start to invest, and having a good emotional balance, as Warren Buffett likes to say? You can't be emotional about your investment. But how long should folks be looking at, all right, this is a 5-year thing, this is a 10-year thing? Like, how far out should they have an understanding of where they're putting their money?
Yeah. Well, at ARK, we're long-term investors. And when I say long-term, we look at 5 years and beyond. And the reason we do that is because we're invested in disruptive innovation. And so these are technologies that can have like exponential growth curves. And basically it's hard to time that inflection point. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why we tend to look out over these 5-10-year periods, because you want to be right sort of directionally, and the research that we do, we try to be right directionally about where things are going. For instance, like when we model Tesla, do I know the exact date when they introduce robotaxis? No. But I kind of know like the range of when we think that they'll start this network, or at least we have a good enough guess. So I think that the long-term horizon lends itself well to those, extremely disruptive technologies.
Okay, and then I know you're tight on time. I could talk about this all day, but what do you think if there are some threats to Tesla that it can keep it from, being what it ultimately could be?
Yeah, I think. Well, certainly the biggest risk is that they don't launch this. And let's not underestimate that it's a difficult thing to do to create a fully autonomous car. We've seen Waymo do it, which is Google's autonomous car project. They have passed, but they're doing it on a small scale. So scaling it is what we think Tesla's very well set up to do. But that's hard. So I think that the biggest risk there is really crossing that hurdle of, okay, you can take your hands off the wheel, and then scaling the service. So that's what we believe they'll do at ARK over the next 5 years. But I think that's the biggest risk. Often people think regulation's the biggest risk.
Right.
I think it's much more on the sort of the timing, the technology side.
Well, I want to ask you as well, because I bought a Cyber Beast, it'll be coming in December. But
he called it a Cyber Beast. Oh,
it's
I like
called
the name.
Cyber Beast. Yeah.
I like the Cyber Beast. I'll put my order in too.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like everybody else wants to know, you had experience riding in a fully autonomous car. What was that like? And can you trust it? Would I be able to take my hands off the wheel and put my cufflinks on when I'm driving? You know what I mean? Can I trust it like that?
Yeah, I love that question. So I did ride in a Waymo vehicle in Phoenix a couple years ago, and I was with my husband. And I'll tell you that we took a 10-minute ride, to like a Target and back. And on the way back, he wasn't even paying attention. He was just texting the whole time. Like he was so confident that the car was going to get there. He wasn't nervously looking around. He didn't even care. He was like bored of it after 10 minutes. So I feel like that's my representative example of, it felt pretty smooth. So.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know, because that's what everybody keeps asking me. And I'm like, I'm going to find out, I guess. Yeah. So.
Well, I've had the unique opportunity of going into a Zoox car this past, I forgot what month I went to a Zoox, fully autonomous vehicle. And I think they're one of the first companies to get fully licensed to be an autonomous vehicle. And it's set up like a carriage. So it's like 2x2. You could be facing, the people you're in the car with, and the ride sharing opportunities are amazing. And African-American founder as well. We can edit her name in here, but just an amazing technology that I do understand and think that will be the future. But we appreciate the time. You said 3D printing. There's a company called Zellerfeld I would love for you to check out. They do 3D printing shoes for right now, and they're making Louis Vuitton first 3D printed shoe. And there's another big company. I don't know if I can say who that company is, but it's one of the largest shoe brands in the world. They're going to make a 3D printed shoe for them as well. And so I would love to hear your thoughts there at some point.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Zellerfeld, Zellerfeld, German company.
All right.
And full disclosure, I invested. And so we're not giving you any financial advice on that. I just want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm so excited to check it out. Well, thank you both. It was great to see you again.
Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you very soon. This is my favorite conversation of the week. Thank you.
Point Forward.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Point Forward. Don't forget to follow Point Forward on social media and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcast. We appreciate you listening. See you next week.